about this extraordinary expansion of the PLA's power. Contrary to international law, the Law of the Sea Conference, Spratlys, Paracels, Senkakus, and then there's the matter of Taiwan. We have followed, we the United States, since President Nixon's visit in the Shanghai Communique in 1972, essentially the same policy, which is strategic ambiguity about what we would do in the event of a cross-strait invasion. We also have the Taiwan Relations Act, which commands us and orders us by law to essentially be the military backer, if you will, provider of technology, but also maintaining sufficient military force in the Western Pacific to ensure the peace. Some voices are now calling for the United States to leave that policy behind and follow an explicit policy of almost like Article 5. We're going to defend Taiwan if attacked. Should we stay with the current policy? When you were secretary, you obviously followed the traditional policy. Is that still the right policy for us?
I have, perhaps reluctantly, but I now believe we should abrogate it. I actually believe we should. And I had this debate with Dr. Kissinger, which always is frightening, so much smarter than me, right? And had lived so much of this history. But he and I had this discussion several times. And I've now concluded that ambiguity creates more risk than it does deterrence. And so I actually in Taiwan, 2 years ago, when you're free from the constraints of being the Secretary of State, made the statement that we should expressly acknowledge Taiwan as a free and independent nation and one which the United States will support in the event of conflict. And I advocated for that when I was the Secretary. We made small moves in diplomatic relationships and the like. But nothing earth-shattering. We couldn't get there. And my rationale is actually pretty simple here. Because we've permitted the PLA to expand as far as they have, at some point you do have to make absolutely clear what you're going to do. And I believe that it is unambiguously clear that in the event that there were a military attack on Taiwan, that we would come to their defense. That it is inevitable that this, I've seen handfuls of war games, the chance that there's an invasion of Taiwan and the United States doesn't come to Taiwan's defense at some level, right, is near zero, because the Japanese will be involved very quickly, and that invokes...
And the Philippines.
And the Philippines will be involved very quickly. And so it is inevitable that will happen. So we should just be, by the way, I think the Chinese know that. And so we should just say what everybody knows instead of allowing the Chinese to have this important talking point, this important diplomatic talking point, and this history that I think did make sense in 1972 and might even have made sense in 1982, but no longer does. And so I would advocate for us just absolute clarity that says, no, Taiwan is free and independent. We're going to recognize their sovereignty and all that comes with that in our agreements with them.